What's up, Buffalo Bills fans? What a day. What a day. A day that if you would have told us um, 2 weeks ago we'd be sitting through, we would have all said, "What'd you just smoke?" Seriously. Um, Living here in North New Jersey, like many of you know, I've seen a ton of Rex Ryan on the other side of the ball in terms of on the other sideline, being Jets head coach and rooting against him in many instances. The kind of guy that embodies you can't stand him when he's on the other sideline, but in the other side of your mind, you're like, damn, I wish my coach would say those type of things and take that kind of tact himself. And today, for his first press conference, he really, given what was there, given what his predecessors would put on display, and not just in games, but in press conferences, in their sort of just dry, corporate, very, edited, maybe not even edited, maybe that's just who they are and were, versions. And what's so refreshing is what you see is what you get with Rex Ryan. And today was just a galvanizing, a invigorating experience for us Bills fans, and we take what we can get. Um, and the little things, tidbits, the shot that the guy used to be here with, I'm not going to quit on my football team. Basically, his quote was, "This fan base deserves a loyal coach, not a coach who gives that lip service, or not a person who gives being a part of the community and representing the region or the city of Buffalo a bunch of rhetoric." And I love that. I really do. That really just lit me up. Being a bully, building a bully. That was, again, if you watch Rex Ryan teams, remember when they were successful, that's what they were predicated upon, both offensively, defensively. We all remember as Bills fans what it was like going up against those Rex Ryan defenses, those finesse Chan Gailey offenses. They were just eaten alive. A lot of things were revealed at this press conference. I think it was a baptism by fire for the Pagulas as the new owners. In my prior video, I'd called for them to own it, and in this process, I really think that they had to, and for the most part, they did. And I think a lot of hashing out, a lot of grievances, a lot of maybe so much grievances, just a lot of air was cleared probably between them, Russ Brandon, Doug Whaley, and they all got on the same page and they went out on the beaten path and got this thing done. And not in a hastened manner or a rushed manner, but a manner that was good for everybody. And once they sat down and put their heads together and felt comfortable with Rex Ryan, who, let's be honest, I think that even me as a Bills fan, I was sitting here thumbing over the Hugh Jacksons of the world and maybe, Frank Reich, of course, was the obvious name because it was such an easy fit, such a just such like a plug and play type of hire for him. As Bills fans, we all know, and having had Jim Schwartz in place prior, it was just like, let's just put Reich in place and then move forward. And then there was obviously the promotion of Schwartz was also possible too. And once Schwartz was interviewed for the head coaching position, in the back of my mind, it lent a little bit of, if he gets passed over here, for another candidate, it's going to put him in a disadvantageous position. It's almost like I wasn't good enough to be your head coach, but it's just you don't want to put a guy in that situation. And a lot of us were of the mindset or the hope that he would stay on with Rex Ryan, but I think it needs to be a football team that's directed by Ryan. He needs to be the voice of it, and having guys, particularly on the side of the ball he specializes in, having another sounding board to go to, if you will. You don't want to put either guy in that situation, particularly the head coach, and particularly a guy that has done good things for the football team like Schwartz has, and you're doing him a favor too. You're allowing him to go seek another opportunity. So it's unfortunate, but it's good for both parties. Um, Offensively, Greg Roman being hired, and I think a lot of Ryan here in New York was a lot of yinging and yanging offensively. He inherited Brian Schottenheimer, which was in a situation I just got over explaining. Schottenheimer had interviewed for the Jets job, passed over. Ryan took the job. Obviously, was offered the job. Was there for 4 years, I believe, as offensive coordinator. Schottenheimer was maybe longer. Then it was the Sperano Morningwig show. The quarterback muddled, much like the Bills situation, and it was a team that was very similar to the Bills in that the defense had to rue the day. And looking back, there's obviously a lot much more early success for the Jets than the Bills have had in a very, very long time. Ryan has skins on the wall for the most part, unlike his predecessors as head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Inheriting two 9-7 teams as a head coach is very interesting. I don't think that's ever been done. Jets were 9-7, Bills are 9-7. Quarterback questions. Brett Favre left the New York Jets. This situation, not a guy as revered or as decorated as Favre, but Kyle Orton, but we're the Bills, by the way. But hopefully no more. Hopefully no more. And I think this day represents a lot of things, a lot more than a hiring of a head coach. The honeymoon period with the Pegulas, buying the team, the running out on the field before the Patriots game, and then that game unfolding, represented, still bitch to the Patriots, still kid brother who gets smacked around. And during this process, I hope, and I have to think they looked at it and said, well, here's this guy who's in our division. There's not a lot of turnover. He's going to know a team that we're going to play against as well as their new coach is going to know. He's going to know the Dolphins. He's going to know the Patriots. He's going to know us. So that's a plug and play type of thought process. Also, instilling an attitude, a certain type of demeanor in the football team that we've all known. We all know that the Bills, and it's eaten us alive as Bills fans, like battery acids on our soul. They have been very, very comfortable playing bitch to the better teams, particularly the Patriots. And this is no knock against the Patriots. Most teams play bitch to the Patriots, but when you're the Bills and you're 15 years without playoffs, and what is it? You're 3 and whatever against the Patriots in the last decade plus, but one of those wins is so flawed. It's not even 9-7. It doesn't even count in my opinion. It took a minor miracle to pull off the one before that. And it's something that it's really just worn us thin, coupled with and everything else. And I think that the mandate at One Bills Drive, like we've all known for so long, that we just never wanted to come to grips with was mainly existing and self-preservation. That was the, you know, that was the, that was the goal. You know, when you have an absentee owner, an aging owner, organizational uncertainty in terms of if you're going to even be there, the stadium dilapidated, going to Toronto, ripping a hole in the fan base with the Donahoe era and the lame duck dead, hires of Malarkey and Duran and Gailey and now the latest buffoon who ran out the door. And I think having a guy who within 20 seconds basically just captured us, basically reached across whatever device we were watching or listening to the press conference and just pulled us in, was so just, it was like honey for the soul as a Buffalo Bills fan. Into the nuts and bolts of what he talked about, building a bully, being a physical football team. And I know a lot of coaches have given that lip service, but seeing who he's aligned himself with, an offensive coordinator, empowering that offensive coordinator, not going to go in there and say, hey, well, we're not doing this year, or we're not going to do this because this. No, this is what we are. This is what we do. Because to get where we want to go, when weather is ugly, if so be it, we can do this, or we can do it anyway. Patriots are a physical football team. They never get credit for it. When they want to line up and run the football, they can. But obviously, as we saw last week, they have number 12. And if they need to throw for 370 yards, they can. There is only a handful of football teams in the NFL that can do that. Every other football team in the NFL faces the same issues that the Bills do. Saw what happened with Denver. Had an injured quarterback, an aging quarterback, doesn't have his legs. They had to try to transition to a running football team, a more balanced football team, and it didn't work. They got into the playoffs, but it didn't take fast enough. So you see it. And given the fact that he's had situations where maybe the quarterback had to be, fluffed up a little bit, which, like I just said, every other NFL team has to. And I think it's good for the division. I think it's good for the rivalry. It's a rivalry that was never a rivalry. Come on. But him staying gives it a shot in the arm. Adds more juice to the Jet games. My God, just dropped a hydrogen bomb on the Patriots games. And lends, credibility to the organization now and going forward in terms of getting head coaches, willing to pay head coaches, willing to pay coaching. Getting Greg Roman, who was a head coaching candidate, landing Ryan, coming in, keeping some of the prior assistants that had done a good job, like the strength staff. Only 14 players on IR the last 2 years. That's kind of gone under the radar with the Buffalo Bills, but they have one of the better, conditioning and training departments in the NFL under, I think it's Eric Schiano. Kiko was on IR, but it was more of a different tag, but injured in an off-season incident training. Mario Butler. I mean, a lot of the IR guys weren't mainstays per se, and even last year, it was not a glut of guys who were on IR. So, for the most part, this team has been relatively healthy. So that's a good thing. Keeping Crossman shocked me a little bit with the maroon ties, but didn't take that into account. Like, you did a good job last year. There's no need to let you go. just keep doing your job. Everything's a clean slate with me. Allowing Roman to hire his own offensive staff and put the imprint there is kind of what we're seeing. The defensive side is all under the guise of Ryan, of course. Rebnovich, I believe, has been retained. Donnie Henderson, who had ties with Rex going back to the Ravens, I was like, no, that's a good move. We all love that guy. Definitely saw an improvement in the secondary since he arrived. So there's things to be excited about. Now it's got to be done between the white lines. It's got to be done on the football field. There's a lot of stuff they have to do. A lot of stuff they have to ascertain. Obviously, the 10,000-pound elephant in the room is the quarterback question. The quarterback will always be, until we have some sort of stability there, about the Buffalo Bills. What are you going to do? And they were non-committal about it. I do like one key fact. They touched on EJ in terms of they like him as a player. Rex said, well, I would have liked to have seen him use his legs more. And that, for me, I think even Bills fans that I've communicated with was like, thank you. Thank you. I'm not saying hand the guy the job. No, not at all. Definitely. Whaley touched on it. We're going to bring in competition, and you should. Even Rex, we're going to bring in competition. You should. And I think they learned from that the last couple of years, particularly Whaley. Look, we just can't, say, well, we got Thad Lewis, we're going to go. No, we're going to beef up this position as much as possible. Because the whole thing with Kevin Kolb, the way Thad Lewis fell off a cliff, they thought they might have found stability at the backup there. EJ was kind of yin and yang there. Let's be honest, Bills fans. Can we honestly say that any offensive player was put in good positions to succeed last year? Knowing what we know now about the last guy's ulterior motives with the contract, knowing what we know in total with Orton, with the whole riff that was there, the terrible environment, toxic environment that was just permeating throughout that. No, I can't say that. I cannot say that one bit. Not one guy on offense. And we saw regression from some of the better players, like Glenn, like Wood. Watkins hit a wall there. Spiller had just woof. So at every level, we saw just either a precipitous drop or a steady decline in performance on offense. So, I mean, you can honestly question it. And I'm not saying that one thing they do or don't do is going to be a panacea for everything, but in terms of the whole build a bully mantra that's being championed now, you got to make sure the ingredients aren't in the fridge or in the cabinet before you go out grocery shopping, particularly on the offensive line. You got to make sure, do we have the guys in the building to do and implement what we want to do going forward? There might be. Cyrus Kouandjio. A lot of guys had their legs cut out, systematically had their legs cut out from underneath them the last few years. Guys, we all know, guys who were made inactive, guys who were just sort of put in check on purpose for whatever reason there was. Like Goodwin, like, Woods early on in training camp, like Mike Williams, Cyrus Kouandjio, Craig Urbick, Spiller, who just, it looked, how does a quarterback play when he's forced to play in such a tight bubble, trying to make him do something that he's not comfortable doing, trying to turn him into something he's not, putting him in a multi-read offense when he doesn't come from that. It doesn't, we can, again, but point belabored by me, I apologize, but we can honestly question anything that's been done on offense and any offensive player that's currently still on the roster. I can honestly question it that they weren't put in good positions to make plays. That's definitely definitely something that I think they know in that room. But otherwise, you have to see how the rest of the staff materializes on offense, what the plan is, and we'll know a lot in these next few months. You know, as the Senior Bowl comes up, the combine, the draft. We all know there's no first round pick. They are getting some good players back. Alonzo is coming back healthy. Watkins, hopefully another year under his belt, he'll have his sea legs under him and be just ready to go. Not that he wasn't this year, but the ribs, the fact that he was a rookie, I think he held very, very well. The lack of targets, the lack of opportunities to get the football in his hands, I think we'll see that increase exponentially. The ineffectiveness of the offensive line, particularly on the quarterbacks. How much did that affect them, knowing that they were going to get killed? The running backs, who basically had no time, nowhere to go, see the Raider game. And it got worse. And I hope that, and I know all of us felt it, when he was talking, it was like we wanted to put pads and helmets on and go run through a damn brick wall. Imagine how the guys that can actually go do that for him are going to feel in that locker room. It's you just, and you're sitting there just like, God, I can't wait till September. Get me to September. If we could put ourselves in the DeLorean and just go, we would. It was, and I know it's a press conference, but it felt good, and feeling good in sports and feeling good about your team is important. And I think now that there's ownership in place, there's a clear vision, there's no more, or as people are finding out there, there's no more fractured ship here. There's no more running around with our own agendas, self-preservation, and people who come into the building who are new to this are going to learn that this one place to go. Lee Whaley coming from Pittsburgh, where they are the model of stability in Pittsburgh, a model franchise. And Terry talking to the right people was like, guy is a billionaire, runs successful companies. And I know a lot of times it doesn't always translate to football, but you learn that that's what wins. He talked about open lines of communication and open door policy, having a clear line to the ownership with him and Kim. I think that's important. I was very disappointed. One thing I was disappointed, Kim needs to be a voice. And hopefully, and I'm sure she was a voice in the meetings with the ownership, she is an owner, but with the hires for coaches. She probably offering a different perspective that's usually a male-dominated topic, where a lot of sometimes as guys, we're hotheads when we talk about sports. We all believe and feel we know what's best for the football team. Whatever team you root for, we all feel that way. And sometimes having an outside perspective, a different tenor in the room helps. It lends like a calming effect, just like, hey, maybe we're all just being pigheaded and stubborn and we need to be more flexible in our thinking, or just a different type of bouncing of ideas. It just lends a dynamic to the room that, let's be honest, in most NFL circles doesn't exist at all. So I hope it was a positive. I'm sure it was, because that's a different dynamic that doesn't exist. And it was new for them all, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. But something that I felt that, and I should say I feel today, that when the season ended on the 29th of December 2014 till now, January 14th, 2015, I feel, even though that there's been no player acquisitions, there's been no, people that have left, I feel they're a better football team right now. I feel that they're in better hands with the ownership, with the coach, a coach that's committed to the team, committed to the fans, committed to the community, committed to the people in the building. Because one thing I've learned, And Rex is loyal like a dog because the last 2 years in New York, he was pretty much a lame duck coach. Ever since Tannenbaum was fired, he knew that he was on year-to-year grounds, and he stayed. Got the team to 8-8, which might have been more impressive. What probably was than Marone's 9-7 this year, which they probably really are. 8-8. And then this year, just the whole dynamic. The billboards didn't say fire Rex here. Trust me, I saw them. They said fire Idzik. They didn't say fire Rex. They said fire Idzik. And it was just a toxic situation. It really was. And in New York, you can ask the Yankees. As successful as they've been, they're viewed as failures because they're not in the World Series every year. You could ask the Giants, who have given their fans and their town 2 world titles in the last 7 years. They are considered as, they're in decline, they're failures. Fire this guy, fire that guy. Clean house. So it's a tough town. It's a tough market. And there can only be one winner at the end of the day. But you got to get in the dance. And hopefully we can get in the dance, and we've seen once in it, this guy can get a football team in good positions to advance in that dance. So can't wait, Bills fans. I really can't wait. The struggle is real, but today felt like a good day, and I do feel like we're a better football team today. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. Thursday and Friday coming up. It was a great hump day for us Bills fans, and one that I hope brings many, many more. We'll have our rough days, I'm sure, but hopefully I feel like we're looking at a lot more positive ones. You guys have a good one. Take care. I appreciate the comments and the questions, positive, negative, whatever. Other fans, it's all welcome. It's all appreciated. No disrespect. Patriots are competitors. They're a good organization. And hey, when people are hating on you, sort of, and people are gunning for you, that means you're good. And unprecedented success. But, sometimes you need to step up to the bully, of course, and then you got to be a bully yourself. Hopefully it just brings good competition between the two teams. Better competition, I should say. Much better. All right. Have a good one. Take care, guys.